Look on the internet and you'll find a virtually endless menu with options to solve any health problem you're dealing with. Trying to get pregnant? Want to feel more manly? Dehydrated? Dragging? Got a head-splitting hangover? We found the outrageous and the ordinary, with treatments advertising help for everything from Alzheimer's and Crohn's to cancer, Parkinson's, and the common cold. Websites claiming they've got it in the bag. At IV clinics and med spas that are popping up across the country, and at strip malls and parties, worker tents, and even poolside. Customers hooked up for what appears to be an easy drip.
These things that appear so casual in a shopping center, they can be deadly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think the consumers out there understand that?
I don't think so, and I think the problem is that it's become so prevalent that consumers make the assumption, well, surely if it's all out here, then it must be okay.
As the president of the Texas Medical Board, Dr. Sharif Zafran knows otherwise.
Because the way it is right now, it really is kind of a free-for-all.
IV and hydration therapy is a rapidly expanding multi-billion-dollar industry, and our national investigative team discovered it's operating in a medical gray area, with questions raised about what these drips can actually treat or cure, what's in the solutions and who's mixing them, and who's keeping an eye on the clinic owners, operators, and medical providers involved, if there even are any.
As you see more and more of these places popping up, what are your worries?
So the main worry is actually who is staffing them, who is deciding what kind of hydration therapy is being given. It became really something that we took even more seriously when we had a death that happened.
All right, Texas 99, welcome back to another edition of the Dog Patrol. Buzz Russell here, getting ready for another big weekend.
Buzz Russell's world revolves around a microphone. The meters on his board are a heartbeat. It skips sometimes when he looks at an empty desk just outside his studio door.
Yeah, every now and again you look up and you just know that unfortunately it's not coming back.
A loss like this would hurt anywhere, but in tiny Fairfield, Texas, the death of a popular young woman was felt as far as Buzz's radio signal can carry.
It was a hit to the community.
Felt like a ripple effect.
It really was. It was like throwing a big rock in a pond.
Jennifer Cleveland was a rock to so many. The mother and wife had been a waitress at a roadside restaurant for years. The infectious smile she served customers built relationships and made her feel like a perfect fit for radio sales at Buzz's station. A new client, a med spa offering IV treatments, would be one of her first and her last.
You don't expect to get that call. And so now we're trying to figure out, okay, what went wrong? Something has gone terribly wrong. What happened? How did it happen? Is this real?
Reality hit hard July 10, 2023, when Jennifer visited her client, Lux Med Spa. Records from the Texas Medical Board show she got a fairly common IV infusion from the owner, whose attorney says she was a phlebotomist, the kind of medical professional who draws blood. Board records say the IV Jennifer was given contained vitamins and a dangerous mix of electrolytes known to cause complications. Just moments after the needle went in, Jennifer was unresponsive. Despite the owner's CPR attempts, within 2 hours, Jennifer was dead from a sudden cardiac arrest.
So the shock factor was pretty big for me. I'm like, no, people do this all the time. But once again, it's not as casual as we think it is. And in these situations where you literally have someone's life in your hands, there has to be a procedure.
But there were many missteps, according to the Texas Medical Board, which found there were no medically licensed or experienced staff at the med spa the day Jennifer died. The medical director was an anesthesiologist more than 100 miles away. The board said he failed to properly supervise the unlicensed owner, who was ordering and administering treatments that required prescriptions. The med spa, it said, had no medical protocols, policies, or procedures in place, something the clinic's attorney refutes.
So in the view of the Texas Medical Board and other medical boards, do you see this as the practice of medicine?
Absolutely. Even if it's just IV fluids by itself, those are prescribed medications.
But that's not how it's handled across the board, with some states admitting they have no rules or regulations to guide the industry. Our national investigative team looked at state laws across the country and discovered those that do vary widely on who can own or oversee these businesses, what licenses are required for practitioners, what monitoring or physician relationship is required. Even who's allowed to ultimately stick in the needle isn't uniform.
Some observers are calling these treatments the Wild West of medicine.
The Federation of State Medical Boards is playing sheriff, trying to wrangle an industry that answers to different masters. The organization called a meeting in April to talk about the challenges posed by regulating IV therapy and hydration operations, which could involve doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and business owners, all with their own licensing, regulation, and oversight.
These things are coming up faster than the states have been able to come up with laws to address them specifically.
In just the last 3 years, we found medical, nursing, or pharmacy boards in at least 8 states, including Alabama, Mississippi, and Nebraska, have issued specific position statements to lay out exactly who could do what when it comes to IV therapy. They're not laws, though. They're merely guidance that even boards admit doesn't carry much weight. Still, industry insiders say it's a start.
I think they help quite a bit. I think it empowers us as physicians and as practitioners to say, okay, we see what you need and what you want. We will build around that.
Dr. Chris Seitz is an architect of the IV therapy industry.
I've got an emergency question. I'm going to send this conversation to the clinic.
He runs Guardian MD, a company he says is designed to help businesses nationwide navigate the complex rules that come with running an IV clinic in their state. Seitz also sits on the Scientific Advisory Board of the American IV Association, a group created by the industry. Just weeks ago, it released a framework to raise industry standards with the goal of protecting patients.
Done the right way is very safe. Not done the right way, there are risks.
Risks that may get blurred in a social media world where IV clinics pop up in your feed as casual beach setups and cheeky after-party pics. But no matter where the drip happens, Seitz and the IV Association say there have to be clear protocols in place. Providers have to be properly licensed and stick within the boundaries of their scope of practice. And he says it's key that there's an actual medical evaluation done on anyone who seeks out IV therapy, with the benefits and risks clearly laid out.
We believe as a scientific committee that there needs to be a patient-provider relationship established. We really don't want, and the boards don't want this either, somebody coming in off the street, looking at a menu and saying, hey, that sounds good. No, we need to be having a relationship.
That's where remote or telemedicine comes in. It became a norm during COVID, and it's something Seitz says his company relies on as it connects medical directors to IV clinics, while limiting how many they can oversee from a distance. But not everyone is operating to his standards. We found doctors across the nation disciplined for failures related to remote oversight of IV clinics, including the doctor medically directing the IV clinic that injected Jennifer Cleveland. His license was initially suspended, then restricted, with the board calling him a continuing threat to public health and safety.
There has to be accountability in this because we're talking about people's lives.
People like Jennifer Cleveland, the waitress turned saleswoman whose life was lost, simply trying to support the people who supported her.
She loved people, very outgoing, very loving. And so, yeah, if you're going to do something, be like Jen. Love like Jen. Be a light. And that's what she was.